This is the Private Officer Beat Radio with Rick McCann at the microphone. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Private Officer Beat Radio. Hey, I am so happy to be here with you this early Monday morning as I'm traveling, doing training this week and on the road. So I'm actually broadcasting live and remote from the beautiful Shenandoah Mountains where, well, it's been kind of chilly and we've had some rain, but that's to be expected. In fact, this time of year here at this elevation, we normally have snow. And it's been kind of, only a few flurries here and there over the last month, but that could change and is supposed to. But I will be enjoying the mountains here for the next few days and going over to the University of Virginia to do some additional training. And really, I love getting out. That's one thing about my job or position or career or whatever you want to call it. I do get an opportunity frequently to travel all over the country, just not in North Carolina and Virginia, but all over the country. And I have many things on the agenda for this year that I'll be sharing with you. And when I come back here from the first break, I'm going to put out an invitation. And I think this will be, I hope this will be very appealing, the proposal and the invitation that we're about to announce. Now, we've had a lot of emails over the last couple of weeks about the various things that we have announced that's happening this year. And, I can understand January is kind of the first of the year, and you're not really sure what the year is going to bring, and COVID still is on the table, still out there, causing concern for some folks. And I also understand that people don't have a lot of money to do a lot of travel. And so, you know what? We're going to try and make things as convenient for you as possible so that you can get involved. And I'm happily going to be announcing some of those endeavors on this radio program. I had a contact a few days ago, a very interesting contact. I won't tell you who it was, but it was somebody in an authority position inquiring about our new law enforcement academy. And yes, it is official. Armor College, which we have been planning this for probably the last 18 months or more, we are officially a private police academy. Now, some have asked, what does that entail? So we have the authority, our instructors and our school are authorized to teach private law enforcement in the state of Pennsylvania. Private police is allowed. Many private police agencies currently patrol some of the resorts, some of the mountain areas in the Poconos, and other businesses. In fact, the SPCA, the animal investigators there, are actually private police because that's a private agency. So we're authorized to teach all of the courses required to become police officers or private police officers in Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia, Washington, D.C., Mississippi, and some of the courses required in Alabama. And we're looking at 2 other states right now as well. Private police are sworn law enforcement in a number of states. They're not available in every state, but they are available in many states. We're concentrating on not only providing the required statutory training, but advanced levels of less than lethal force and lethal force, as well as we're providing certifications that are required by states for community service officers, local and county park officers and rangers, constables, zoning enforcement officers, and others. So we have session 1 of the Unified Private Law Enforcement Academy coming up and this is scheduled in Fairfax County, Virginia. It's a 2-week, 12-day, 120-hour course. It will qualify the candidate recruit to be private police in Maryland, Virginia, and Washington, D.C., and it will also qualify those who successfully complete the academy to be park rangers, constables, and zoning enforcement in these states as well. And we have a academy coming up after that. It's scheduled for Mississippi, and we'll be announcing that later on down the road. We have a lot of interesting and unique things that we do, both through Private Officer International and Armor College, as well as other businesses that we currently own. We are looking for people. We are looking for you, qualified people to become private law enforcement in Virginia. And we're looking for patrol officers for one of my companies in Alabama. And we're also hiring instructors in both Virginia and Alabama, as well as Georgia. And we have some other very unique openings and opportunities for those of you who are interested in owning a business. We'll talk about that in today's radio program. We do have a lot of breaking news coming in, and as far as we know, in the past 7 days, there has not been a security officer killed, but there has been numerous security officers injured and shot in the line of duty. We also have 2 very tragic events that happened over the weekend, active shooter type situations that have occurred, one at a nightclub and one at a celebration of the Lunar New Year, and we'll share that with you, as well as the conviction of a family for the murder of a security officer. You're listening to the voice of the Frontline Protector here on the Private Officer Beat Radio, and we'll be right back.
From coast to coast, cops are cracking down on seatbelt violations. Buckle up day and night or expect a ticket. It doesn't matter who you are or where you live, they'll be on the lookout. Cops write tickets to save lives. Click it for ticket.
If you're not already receiving breaking news and our bi-weekly newsletter, Officer Down Reports, and discount training news in your personal or business email, then go to our website right now at privateofficer.org. privateofficer.org. A drop box will come down. Just fill out your info, and you'll be the first, one of the first, for sure, to know about what's happening in the security industry. You'll know when a security officer is killed. You'll also get these great discounts on training and equipment and so much more. privateofficer.org. And if you're not already a member of the Private Officer International Association, sign up while you're there today. Become a lifetime member for just $99, and we'll also include a free Private Officer International patch and lapel pin.
Driving a car is basically like driving a weapon. My friend died because someone made a bad driving decision.
My uncle died because someone didn't think before they got behind the wheel.
You let down your parents and your loved ones.
You could lose your friends. Parents don't like their kids hanging out with criminals.
Drunk driving is just as bad as drunk driving.
I heard about a shooting involving a 3-year-old girl over the summer. My daughter Riley is that age.
There was a point when I felt that I was going to die.
My parents used to always say a bullet doesn't have a name on it.
Someone put a bullet in the back of my 14-year-old son's head.
The gun should never be an option.
We're Americans. We don't have to live like this.
We can all make a difference.
In the United States, 88 people die of gun violence every day.
We can end gun violence.
At a Chinese Lunar New York festival in the outskirts of Los Angeles, California, Monterey Park, 10 people are dead. A man fatally shot those people and injured at least 10 others at a ballroom dance hall during the Chinese Lunar New Year celebration late Saturday before fleeing the scene. The shooter, as of just a few hours ago, is still at large. Police from multiple jurisdictions responded. They say the suspect is believed to be an Asian male between the age of 30 and 50 based on descriptions from eyewitnesses. We are currently waiting to find out if any security employees were on duty at that particular location. According to L.A. County Sheriff Robert Luna, he told reporters that they need to get the person off the street, obviously as quickly as possible, as he is dangerous, armed and dangerous. Luna later released images of that suspect, apparently taken from nearby surveillance. He was wearing spectacles, dressed in a dark jacket and a dark beanie with white stripes. Now, in the police statement, they said that they have no known motives. And early yesterday morning, the sheriff's department said they still have no information from anyone or any source that identifies the reason for the shooting. 5 of the victims were male and 5 were female. Their identities yet to be released to the public. Officials say they're still investigating whether an incident at another dance venue in the neighboring city of Alhambra, I hope I said that correctly, about 20 minutes away, was connected to the massacre that happened in Monterey Park. At that second venue, witnesses said it was also an Asian man walked up into the area holding a gun. Patrons were able to grab it. No one was shot, and the man fled. Police say at least 10 people are still being treated at local hospitals in that second event. Police are asking if you have any surveillance cameras, doorbell camera footage, or anything else that could assist them to please contact them right away. Neighbors in the area say there are few issues. According to law enforcement, that area is 65% of their residents are Asian, and according to residents in the area, of course, they are shocked. Sadly, that was not the only violent incident that occurred over the weekend. Police in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, are also reporting 12 people were shot there at a nightclub. 12 people injured while they were enjoying a night out at a nightclub, police said. One of the victims is in critical condition while the rest are still listed as stable. In that situation, police also say they have no suspects and there's no indication that there was any type of previous trouble. The shooting occurred at the Dior Bar and Lounge at about 1:30 Sunday morning. While no arrests have been made, police say that they are seeking a suspect. They don't have a known motive. People are talking to police, and there is information being exchanged. They are currently looking for nearby video surveillance footage, and they're asking, of course, for people to come forward. Again, in this situation, we have been told that security was on site. We don't know if they were injured or killed. We are trying to get further information. This was a tragedy, both of these shootings, but over the weekend, we know that at least 5 security officers at other locations were shot in the line of duty. We'll bring you more updates as we get them. Over the weekend, we also released another story that's very pertinent to security personnel nationwide. Several more attacks have occurred on substations, and police, FBI, and other federal agencies now believe that this may be a coordinated effort. There's a lot of information yet to be released. We will keep you up to date on that as well. You're listening to the Private Officer Beat Radio, and we will be right back. Are you a recently retired or maybe active law enforcement officer looking for a different future, maybe owning your own business? Former military, public safety, private security professional, EMS, or the fire service, looking for a new way to make a difference while running and owning your own business. At Public Safety Services, we provide services to those who protect us around the world. I'm talking about the police, the sheriff's department, the military. Our organization provides community service officers, private law enforcement, prisoner transport, traffic investigators, and many other public safety service related services to law enforcement agencies across the nation. You can own your own business, be in business for yourself, but not by yourself. Contact us at publicsafetyservices.org. Let's talk about how you can make a difference today while owning your own business.
There was the explosion, and I remember just opening my eyes, and it got both of my legs. I had surgery after surgery, and what's going to happen next? The Wounded Warrior Project said, look, brother, everything's going to be okay. 3 months from now, 4 months from now, a year from now, you'll be fine. I don't know if I would be as well adjusted as I am now if it wasn't for them.
To learn more, call 1-877-832-6997 or visit woundedwarriorproject.org.
Across the country, there's a new 3-digit emergency number if you're feeling suicidal, if you're experiencing a life crisis. 988 is now the 3 digits that you can dial, just like 911 across the country. You'll connect with mental health professionals, and the 988 number will connect you with the Crisis Lifeline, formerly known as a National Suicide Prevention Line. Veterans can press 1 after dialing 988 to connect directly to the Veterans Crisis Lifeline, which serves our nation's veterans, service members, National Guard, and Reserve members, and those who support them. For text, veterans should continue to text the Veterans Crisis Lifeline, short code 838255. Too many people experience suicidal crisis or mental health-related distress without the support and care that they need. But you're not alone. Simply pick up the phone and dial or text 988. Someone will answer that phone who is caring, understanding, and there to help you. 988. There is hope. For the past 3 years, we have been following the murder, arrest, and trial of a security officer on duty who is doing his job when he approached several shoppers in a discount store for not wearing a mask. And unfortunately, the security officer became a victim first of an assault by a female, a male then entered the store and further created a disturbance, and they all left. I'm certain that the security officer and the employees of the store at this point thought, well, that was over. It was loud and, could have went a different way, and maybe now they're all gone and we can get on with business as usual. But unfortunately, the fact was that the parties involved soon returned with yet another person, and they had firearms. They escalated that confrontation and that situation even more, to the point where they fired shots and killed the security officer, identified as Calvin Munelin. And this was a tragic situation. Now, first, all of those involved were charged with first-degree premeditated murder, a crime that carries a mandatory punishment of life in prison without parole. This was a situation that happened at a Family Dollar store in Flint, Michigan. A husband and wife identified as Larry and Charmel Teague, and Charmel Teague's son, Raymond Bishop, were all convicted this past week of first-degree murder and ordered to spend the rest of their lives in prison without the possibility of parole. Genesee County, Michigan Circuit Court Judge Brian S. Pickle said that anything less would dishonor the legal system and the memory of the security officer murdered. I've never seen more deserving individuals receive life in prison, said Matthew Smith, the assistant prosecuting attorney who handled the case. The security officer was in the store at the time of the shooting. The Teagues had already left. That incident with the face mask already over. They couldn't let it go. And they went home and brought back a gun. The Teagues, as well as Bishop, the son, and Bria Bishop, a fourth defendant in the case, and sister of Ramonia Bishop, were all charged in the case. Bria Bishop was convicted by plea and was sentenced last November to time served and received probation for her role in the case. Surveillance video played a key part at trial because it showed that inside the store, the family argued with the security officer. They escalated the argument. They spit on the security officer, and that prompted him to begin forcing them out of the store. Police and prosecutors say it was a senseless murder. Video inside the Family Dollar store shows Ramonia Bishop, the son, walking into the store first on the second go around, and the Teagues entering behind him. There was no doubt that it was premeditated when they went back home and got a firearm. These are the type of situations that security officers face every day. Now, last week, I mentioned 3 other cases involving security officer murders where all 3 suspects in those separate murders were found guilty and received long sentences. We're watching several others right now go through the same process. There is no doubt in my mind that these incidents are not random. They're not something that you're only going to see involving security once in a blue moon, but they will continue to escalate. Every year, I tell you about the dozens and dozens of security officers who are murdered in the line of duty. And in my travels, I tell people, I tell security company owners, I tell security officers, I even tell electronic security technicians and sales reps, because even they have been murdered while on duty. I'm glad that there was justice in this case. Like I said, we have followed it since the first notification of the homicide. If you have any information about a trial involving security or the murder of a security officer, contact helpdesk@privateofficer.com. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Grew up together. He got his license when he was 16. We were going to the beach, and Luke was driving. I was in the passenger seat, and all of a sudden, I don't remember anything. I wasn't conscious for it. We got hit by a drunk driver. I feel like I knew right away that it was never going to be the same. I don't know. The doctors, they were telling me I was so lucky to be alive. When I found out that he died on impact, I didn't really feel lucky. And sometimes I still don't. Drinking and driving is completely unnecessary, and I think it's selfish if you do it. It's not worth taking that risk, because you never know what's going to happen.
Hey everyone, you're listening to the voice of the Frontline Protector right here on the Private Officer Radio Network. Now don't go away, because we are coming right back when we've got a whole lot more right here on the Private Officer Beat Radio.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To not look the other way.
It's on us.
To stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Thanks for listening to the Private Officer Beat Radio this week, this Monday morning, January the 23rd, broadcasting live from the road. And we've talked about for a number of weeks the roundtables and the upcoming training that will be done throughout the country. We're looking toward you to get involved. We need for you to reach out to local law enforcement or reach out to our office if you know of someone there who's involved as a chief or a deputy that we can contact. What we have decided due to travel restraints and other considerations is that we're going to start with one or two states near our operational area here in the southeast, and we have several that have been scheduled. We're still reaching out to others, but we're asking that you, if you have any information or contact with other agencies, that you send us an email, helpdesk@privateofficer.com. The same thing with travel, with training. We're going to be in Louisiana and some of those southern Gulf states over the next month, and we invite you to contact us, and we'll make training very inexpensive, and we hope to have some regional training coming up that, again, will be close enough for you to drive within the day, take the training, stay overnight, and go back home. We'll keep you up to date with everything that is happening. As I mentioned last week in the program, we really need for each and every one of you to get involved. We want you to participate, maybe join one of our, we have a couple of advisory board positions that are opening. We have committee openings, especially on the benevolent program, where we need you to be boots on the ground, go out, contact security officers who have been injured or families who have had a security officer killed in the line of duty. It's not time consuming, and it won't cost you a dime, just a little bit of your time and effort. Almost 20 years, we have really established ourselves here in the security and law enforcement professions. We have a lot of different opportunities for security and private police, bail enforcement, PIs, and others in public safety at all levels to get involved, and we're asking that you do that. If you don't know how to, it's simple. Contact helpdesk@privateofficer.com. We have recently put out a newsletter alert about our reopening of chapters, and this is one of the best ways for you to get involved. With the chapters, there are some basic purposes. We want to, of course, be available to those in the region for training, for assistance, for benevolent services. We want to establish rapport with local law enforcement. We also want to provide educational services in that area. And so if you are interested in opening a local chapter, please contact us. Of course, only one point of contact here, very easy to remember, helpdesk@privateofficer.com. We have had, over the last 5 or 6 years, opportunities for people to get in business for themselves, but not by themselves. Right now, we have a patrol service where you can start a patrol service, much different than a static on-site security service, and we will help you do that. We have several different methods, and really it all begins with a consultation, and you can contact us, of course, at our point of contact, helpdesk@privateofficer.com. We are going to take a break. Over the last 3 or 4 weeks, we've talked about the link in the chain of securing our country and our world, and it all starts with private security. It's hard to imagine that, without that baseline, basic security level, that anything could be secure, because it all begins there. Today in the radio program, at the bottom of the show, we're going to talk about how security really has advanced and what you should be looking forward to and what you should be trying to achieve in this profession if that's what you want to stay in. We're going to take a quick break, but when I come back, we got a lot more to talk about here on the Private Officer Beat radio show.
America isn't the land of promise. It's a place where every day is a struggle. Because today in America, 1 in 6 children lives below the poverty line. For these children, living in poverty means going without medicine, going without food, going without a warm home, or even a roof over your head. And that's life for nearly 13 million children of all races, all across America. Where will you draw the line and get involved? You can help these children and their families find a way out of poverty for good. And you can make a difference in more ways than you think. Will you help? Go to povertyusa.org today. Because 1 in 6 children in poverty is one too many. A message from the Catholic Campaign for Human Development.
They say if you want a wish to come true, never tell anyone. But there is one wish that can make the difference between life and death. And this wish can only come true if you tell someone. Please, let your family know you want to be an organ donor.
In the news this week, a stunning statement by an executive with Walgreens. In that statement, he told media reps that security officers stationed throughout their stores are not there to protect merchandise. According to the news, Joseph Stein, director of asset protection, said that they do not have security personnel throughout their stores to protect the product, but rather the people. Security guards are not there to protect the product, said Joseph Stein, director of asset protection. They are there to de-escalate, if necessary, a situation and to protect the customer and the employees. Walgreens hires security personnel from Allied Universal as well as off-duty law enforcement officers. Security personnel are not armed and are not trained to apprehend or stop thefts. According to the security director, they are entirely there just to protect people and not product. In Daytona Beach, Florida, this past week, police there were called to a fatal shooting. This occurred at a medical facility. 76-year-old woman shot and killed her 77-year-old husband, who had a long-term illness. Authorities have taken the wife into custody. At this time, we don't know if there will be any charges. A veteran off-duty Miami-Dade police officer came to the aid of a on-duty security officer at a shopping center when someone fired shots at the security officer. The security officer took cover and notified police. It just so happened that an off-duty police officer was in the shopping center at the time of the shooting. He confronted the armed subject and fatally wounded him. The security officer was not injured. Police are currently investigating. NYPD put out a statement this past week that a cannabis company in Brooklyn, New York, has subpar security, as do some other locations. According to the release, the recreational pot shop has very lean security measures. A top NYPD official is calling for increased security requirements, both physical and electronic. We are also seeing this in several other recent startup states where they have just legalized personal or medical use. In North Augusta, South Carolina, a school resource officer is under arrest and has been terminated. This after learning that he had an inappropriate relationship with a student at the school. According to most state laws, even if that student is considered an adult, an authority figure, including an SRO or a school teacher, could not have any type of relationship. That would be a felony. Memphis, Tennessee, how about this one? A woman and a security officer were both injured when a man tried to rob the woman while being escorted by a uniformed security officer. This happened at a Kroger store on Thursday of last week. Even though the uniformed security officer was escorting the shopper to her car, two suspects stopped a vehicle. One person jumped out, attacking the customer and then the security officer as they tried to rob the lady. Crime data shows at least 47 reported crimes over the last 6 months in that same shopping center, amid growing calls for changes and stronger security. Coming out of Oakland, California, an East Bay security company is now accused of stealing $800,000 in workers' wages. Prosecutors in Alameda County have charged the owners of the Union City-based security company with stealing more than $800,000 in wages from their employees. The investigation, which has been ongoing, says that Alpha Private Security Incorporated owed regular and overtime wages to 87 employees. The two owners have both been arrested, and they have been charged with theft of wages from employees, conspiracy to commit a crime, and insurance fraud. One of the owners has also been charged with possession of an illegal assault weapon, possession of a short-barrel rifle, and possession of a expandable baton. While conducting the arrest, they also came across some ghost guns that were homemade. This has been turned over to federal authorities. The two are scheduled to be in Superior Court February the 14th. A new study just released says that electronic security, and especially the fire alarm systems, is projected to reach a valuation of about $40.6 billion in the U.S. by 2033. At the current time, the fire alarm systems themselves is projected to reach around $25 billion this year. Electronic security, including access control and cameras, also projected to increase by another $30 million this year. Across the country, we're seeing a higher use of electronic security, as well as pairing it with physical security as well. A shoplifter stopped by store security in Wickliffe, Ohio, turned out to be a wanted murderer. According to police, officers were called to a local Dollar General store. A female was taken into custody, but the male ran as police arrived. They searched the area and located him. The 19-year-old, identified as Klein Halfley of Cleveland, Ohio, was wanted for murder. Of course, he was taken into custody. In a new program that Private Officer International launched in December of last year called The Good We Do, today we recognize one of those that did great. An Oak Lawn, Illinois security officer working at the Community High School District 218 went above and beyond the call of duty. Chris Clark is a retired Cook County Sheriff's Office deputy, and also previously served as an SRO at a high school in the area. He was notified that a student had gone missing. The search was conducted by law enforcement and others. According to the news release, Harris pounded pavement after hours for 3 days consecutive, using his connections in the community to finally help locate Kyle. At some point, Kyle was seriously injured after being struck by a hit-and-run driver, and when he was found, was taken to the hospital and had to be taken to the intensive care unit. The retired sheriff's deputy and now school security officer said that he just felt that he could help, and he took it upon himself to go out and do so. He has been presented an award, and we have reached out to his current employer so that we too can present him with an award. Businesses across the country already know that shoplifting is rampant, especially organized retail crime. But now they're taking some very drastic measures. If you haven't noticed in your area, they are locking up groceries, including ice cream. It seems that since ice cream now is about $7.50 per container, many people are coming in and shoplifting large quantities of ice cream and selling it quickly, obviously, for a much cheaper cost. According to a new report released by Deal Aid, stores are even locking up meat and other items. Eggs in some areas have hit $8.88 per carton. You will see more and more retail stores locking up everything from razors to eggs. Loss prevention experts say this is only going to increase and get worse. Organized retail crime has already cost retailers billions of dollars and now projected to cost even more. A new law in California would make wearing body armor during a criminal activity or possessing body armor illegal. And while there are some talks in Bill 92 about allowing security officers to have body armor, that is yet to be decided. In the current form, the bill could exempt law enforcement, members of the military, armored car guards, security guards, firefighters, paramedics, firearms dealers, and body armor salespeople, building safety inspectors, and code enforcement officers. This is not a done deal. We have seen in some areas where body armor has been outlawed for all civilians, including security officers. An Ohio woman sprayed police flight attendants with fire extinguishers at an Atlanta airport. TSA, security personnel, and law enforcement all had to subdue Jennifer K. Holder, 27, of Dayton, Ohio, during that event after she opened a secure door inside of the airport. Security, police, TSA tried to talk the woman into surrendering, but she took a fire extinguisher off the wall and then sprayed everybody that she could. Coming out of North Carolina, law enforcement there say yet another substation has been hit by gunfire, this making it at least the 18th. Homeland Security put a report out at the beginning of this month saying 24 in all substations across the country have been damaged by vandals. They are continuing to investigate. Local, state, and federal law enforcement. Some believe that this is a coordinated effort, while others say this simply are just vandals in each state. We will stay on top of this and continue to send out information as we get it. Also, we told you that a number of security officers have been shot in the past week. And thankfully, we don't have any who are fatal. In the past 7 days, there has been a number of assaults on security. Again, nothing that would be fatal. Newport News, Virginia, parents now calling for more security officers and SROs after a shooting of a teacher by a 6-year-old. We have brought this up a couple of times. Schools across the country in the last 18 months have begun hiring security staff and SROs. This after the long arguments and protests against law enforcement and security being in the school after the George Floyd death. We're seeing violence across the country in our schools, both elementary and high school, and certainly having armed police and security does make a difference. Coming out of Ocala, Florida, an armed security officer is charged with raping a 15-year-old at a movie theater. Ocala police said the 15-year-old girl was dropped off at the Regal Hollywood 16 movie theater with her friends to watch a movie on January the 14th. After the movie, investigators said her friend's grandfather arrived to pick them up, but he refused to take the 15-year-old girl home after some type of confrontation. The 15-year-old girl said she tried calling her mother but couldn't get a hold of her. Investigators said the security guard at the theater, Augusta Williams, 31, told the grandfather, "Don't worry about it. I'll watch over her until she can get another ride home." It is alleged that Williams took her into an empty theater near the movie screen and behind dark curtains and raped her at that point. Authorities say that they have collected DNA and they have video evidence showing that this rape did occur. Police arrested him the following day. NYPD has just released in the last 3 days images of men wanted in a $300,000 Brinks truck robbery. You can go to our website at privateofficerbreakingnews.blogspot.com or our social media at facebook.com/Private Officer International or twitter.com/Private Officer to see more videos and photos of those robbery suspects. An Iowa City security guard has been arrested after knocking someone out. According to Iowa City Police, a security guard is facing charges of aggravated assault after he had a confrontation with the man and then knocked him unconscious. Cole Dogney, 21, of Iowa City, has been arrested and then released on bond. Target Distribution Center employees say that they're owed money for security screenings. We have seen numerous lawsuits in the last 5 years where employees who have to go through a security screening when they are going home, security officers or store employees check all of their packages and their bags and purses. According to the employees who have filed the lawsuit, they say that they are owed thousands of dollars of overtime, and they want this to be a class action suit. The Target lawsuit is going to be heard in Cook County, Illinois in the upcoming months. When you see news happening in your area, anything that relates to private security or law enforcement, please send it to us at helpdesk@privateofficer.com. A security officer in Philadelphia shot an armed man. After an investigation, the FBI said that the man was armed with several knives threatening the security officer. That man is going to survive his injuries and has been charged now by the FBI with attempted murder on a federal officer. Even though the security officer was a contracted staffer, he was working under the federal statutes and is considered a federal officer. The U.S. Marshal Service and the FBI jointly investigated this. The man in his 40s, his identity has not been released. How about this one? A driver in Detroit, Michigan, out of gas, upset that police wouldn't come out and bring them gas, called in a false shooting call. It seems that the Michigan State Police received several calls about a stranded motorist on the freeway who had run out of gas. After calling several times asking that they bring him gas, police say that the girlfriend of the man then called 911 saying that they were just involved in a drive-by shooting. Someone with an AK-47 fired 150 shots into their vehicle. Of course, that brought out a large police response. After questioning both the female and male, it was determined that it was a fake call. There was no shooting. They just wanted gas. Go to our website at privateofficerbreakingnews.blogspot.com 24 hours a day and read our news. We're coming right back right after these messages. You're listening to the voice of the Frontline Protector. Across America and here along the Gulf Coast in Baldwin and Mobile counties, more than 75% of all firefighters are volunteers. They spend their time helping others. Around the clock, many of our volunteers respond from home, from work, and from the fire station. But just like businesses all around the country, it's becoming more and more difficult to recruit firefighters. If you want to truly help your community and make a difference, I encourage you to reach out to your local volunteer fire department here along the Gulf Coast or anywhere in the country and volunteer your time today. Unlike 20 or 30 years ago, volunteer firefighters are professional firefighters, professionally trained firefighters, and many times EMTs and paramedics. Please help your community, donate some of your time, and you'll not only make a difference, but you'll feel good about it. I know. I've been a volunteer firefighter, EMT paramedic, and law enforcement most of my life. Please reach out today, and thank you. Are you looking for the finest private security officer training in the Charlotte metropolitan area? Do you need PPS qualifications in armed or unarmed training? Or maybe you're over there across the line in South Carolina and you need the SLED training. Well, we've got the right training at the right time for you. Premier Training Academy, located at 5624 Executive Center Drive, Suite 142 in metropolitan Charlotte, North Carolina. Give them a call today, 704-806-4933. They also offer firearms training, personal protection, first aid and CPR, and so much more. Call John at 704-806-4933. Last week when I wrapped up my 3-part series about the link in the chain and how really the strongest link has to be basic level security and all of the services that profession offers. Everything really depends on the strength of those links. Last week, I finalized that 3-part talking about all of the various levels of security and services that security companies, private law enforcement, and public safety agencies offer, both proprietary units and departments as well as contracted services. And so this week I'm going to title this little discussion, "Which side of the fence are you on?" Because really, like riding a bicycle, you can't stand still, you're going to fall off. You're either going forward or backwards. And the same thing with the security profession. We have to decide what side of the fence are we really on. It's always interesting when I begin researching certain topics, whether that's for a radio show, a training, a module or lesson plan, or some other thing that I'm writing or we'll be talking about. One of the things that I have mentioned for weeks, months, and years is that the security profession is really at that point in trying to realize that they have to be one thing or the other. They're either going to understand the progression in the security profession, as law enforcement had to do some 50 years ago when they finally woke up to realize, hey, this isn't knock heads and throw people in jail. This isn't the old, we're going to hire the toughest, strongest, biggest, baddest cop that we can find, the good old Irishmen and people who love to fight, knock them down and ask questions later. They had to realize that training had to be part of the process, and supervision and retraining and various levels of compliance, and that there were a lot of different ingredients in law enforcement. It wasn't just all about who was the biggest, baddest, and toughest. Private security, I have continued to spread the gospel for years, is at that turning point. We're at that point of having to decide which side of the fence we're on. Now, just recently, I began looking at technology, and I say recently, it's really not been so recent. I've been looking at technology since I've been in the security business, and having owned both a physical security company and an electronic security company where we sold and installed and monitored access control and camera systems, I understand the value of physical electronic data, and now other areas of protecting people and places have come into play. Technology is really at the forefront of how we provide security services today. Luckily, there are some private security companies and proprietary departments who realize the value of technology, electronic security, and physical security. But sadly, there are many that still haven't woken to the fact that we cannot only provide static security, access control, because that's not what people want anymore. A large majority of people are looking for proactive, responsive security, and that includes mobile patrols responding to activated alarms, as well as incident response where they can call security rather than police for noise complaints or a trespasser or some other criminal activity happening on their property. And for many years, my security companies have offered that, along with booting of vehicles, parking enforcement, and issuing infractions and compliance, as well as issuing criminal citations and making arrests. It is important to understand that security can either be, they're going to have to figure this out sooner than later. They're either going to have to roll with the times and elevate the services that they provide, or they're going to be left at the bottom of the barrel, way, way, way behind, only providing unarmed access control, observe, and report. But the problem with that, as I've always said, is that when you are providing that type of security, you're really putting your employee in harm's way, because now the bad guy doesn't care if they're unarmed. They don't care if they have no training. They don't care if that security officer can't speak English. They only see him as a threat or her as a threat. And that's why, one of the reasons why we're seeing on-duty deaths of security officers continue to increase so rapidly. In recent months, I began looking at another component of providing true physical security to residential communities, gated communities, business and entertainment zones, businesses, homeowners, and a collection of other customers who need and want true protection that the police no longer can provide. And so without spilling all of the beans today on this program, I will tell you that I, along with several vendors and folks in the industry, are putting together a one-of-a-kind operation that you would only find behind closed doors of a law enforcement agency. Combining technology, high technology, along with physical security, electronic security, we will have the only one of its kind that I know of across the country. Now, a number of years ago, probably 10 years now, we began putting together a fusion sensor, something that law enforcement was using, and they were putting all of their eggs in one basket. They were bringing everyone in from other departments, especially after 9/11. They were bringing in the latest technology, and hopefully they were going to cut down on crimes, violent crimes especially, and if at the very least they were going to have intelligence and video and other resources to help solve some of these crimes. Now, some of that went by the wayside. A lot of the federal funding was lost, so on and so forth. But in recent years, some law enforcement agencies and at least two nonprofits that I'm aware of have come together to provide the next generation of the Fusion Center. And when the time is right, I'll be discussing more about what that is and what it entails. But we have to understand, and we have to determine, and we have to come to grips with what side of the fence are we on? What do we want to be? We can't be everything to everyone. What is it that we want to do? What risk are we willing to take? I am happy to say that some security companies continue to invest in their staff, in their training, in their safety. With Private Officer International and Armor College and other businesses that we own or are associated with, we hear from a large array of business owners in public safety and law enforcement and private security, and we hear from them talking about how they have to continue to advance their level of technology, training, services, everything from body armor and body cameras to having technology in their vehicles. Last week, I had an opportunity to talk for more than 30 minutes with a regional security company VP who was telling me about some of the city and state contracts that they have and how they have had to change their mindset just in recent years, not only about the quality of people, but also the training, being able to provide, even the basic first aid CPR, but also in one situation, people having to complete hazmat training. It was required by the client because there were chemicals on board and other situations that could be devastating and deadly if these security officers did not have that proper training. I don't think that private security can remain what they were 20, 30, 60 years ago. I talked about staffing services last week. Many security companies still operate in that manner. You know, you call for a body, we'll send you somebody, and this is billable. But we really are not there anymore. You have to decide which side of the fence you're on. In the upcoming weeks, I am going to be talking about a couple of the things that some companies have decided that they need to do, some of the advanced training and some of the advanced services that they are providing, including my own security businesses. We will also talk about the Fusion Center in a huge upscale manner in the private sector, and how we'll put it all together: electronic, physical, technology, cyber, and very sophisticated tools. And we'll be talking about that over the next few weeks. And when we're ready, then we'll release more about the details. What side of the fence are you on? If you are still a security officer after 20 years or 30 years, that's a problem. I mean, some people are happy. I've known of police officers who have stayed patrol officers their whole entire career because they love working on the street. They could have taken the exam for sergeant or even lieutenant, and in a couple of situations they were going to be appointed and promoted, but they would rather stay on the street. And maybe you're a security officer who would rather just go do your job and go home and not have any headaches with staffing or scheduling or training or anything of that nature. And that's fine. But if you really want to advance your career, you have to start thinking outside of the box. You have to be on one side of the fence or other. Am I going to be a professional public safety officer? Am I going to be an organized retail crime investigator? Am I going to go to work for a proprietary, well-defined, well-oiled security department, or become a investigator or a private police officer, or even open my own patrol service? What am I going to do? If I'm in management, or even if I own a private security company, again, I'm going to have to decide now, sooner than later, am I just going to go status quo, or am I going to make those changes that make me higher in the food chain, where people are looking for specialized services that most security companies don't offer? I'm going to have that service. In closing, I want to give you a couple of homework assignments, I guess. Go and start searching out security companies who offer prisoner transport. Go and search out companies who offer loss prevention agents and investigations. Go and search out security companies who offer personal protection. Go and search out, all of these things are searchable, by the way, on the internet. Go and search out security companies who are also private police companies and can offer sworn law enforcement. There are so many opportunities in this profession. Almost weekly, I come up with a new concept, a new idea I can't fulfill because I don't have that time. I can continue to create types of services and types of businesses in the public safety law enforcement arena. I just don't have the time, the manpower, or even the money to make it happen. But someone told me once, if you can think it, you can make it happen. Many successful people today are successful not because someone put them in the driver's seat, but because they put themselves in that driver's seat. Go to publicsafetyservices.org, publicsafetyservices.org. That's one of my companies. You'll see some of the unique services being provided, And we're going to even increase that more as we begin to franchise that business. There are so many things you can do to have a excellent living, make an excellent wage or salary or profit from a business while helping the community and keeping many people safe. Think about it. Do the homework. Sit down and put a game plan together for yourself. It's the only way. In this day and age, as we know, prices are going up. We need more money to survive. And we can't take that basic hourly wage. We can't take that $9, $10, $12 an hour. It's not going to cut it. It's not fair to you. It's not fair to your family. Thanks for being here again this week. Remember, you can always contact us at helpdesk@privateofficer.com. Join us at facebook.com/Private Officer International, twitter.com/Private Officer. Follow us online. You can also go to our website at privateofficer.org. Read our breaking news at privateofficerbreakingnews.blogspot.com. And we're here to help you. So which side of the fence are you on? Until the next time, you all be blessed, be safe, and of course, we'll see you back here on the radio.